What's up, guys? This is the Unit 13.1 notes. This is in this packet. We are almost done with the school year, guys. We're getting pretty close. We only got one more packet after this. We're going to be on pages 2 and 3 today, 13.1. Today's learning target is I can find, specifically the surface area. Again, we did that last unit, of this time pyramids and cones. Okay? Pyramids and cones. So not too bad. Basically, a pyramid is a shape with a point at the top, right? So is a cone. A cone. Both of these have points at the top. Pyramid is going to be a polygon of some kind. So maybe like a triangle or a square or a pentagon or a hexagon. That's probably about as complicated as it will get. And then a cone is a circle on the bottom. So this will be like an ice cream cone is what you would see that. Pyramids are like the Egyptian pyramids. Both of these words you're probably familiar with. But just remember, a pyramid is not a circle. A cone is a circle. Okay? All right, so a pyramid, here's our formula. PL over 2 plus B. Okay, this isn't too complicated. All four of these things you should already know except for L. Okay, so P stands for the perimeter of the base. So let's go ahead and kind of show you what that would look like. I could call it orange. So the perimeter of the base, in this case, it's a square. So we're going to find the perimeter of that base. L stands for what's called the slant height. I know that's kind of weird. It's an L. That's just a cursive L, but it stands for slant height. And that makes sense because the slant height is slanted. Okay, so the slant height here would be this height right here. Okay, be careful because on your homework there's going to be many times when it tempts you to pick something different. This has to be the height that goes from the point down to the side of your base. Okay, this, for example, is the normal height. This would just be called the height of your pyramid. That's not what you want. You want the slant height. You want the slant height. So as a review so far, P stands for perimeter. Everyone should know what that is. It's just the distance around my square. L stands for slant height. It is the height that is slanted. Okay, so in any given shape, it's the height that's slanted. All right, and then B, again, you probably already know what B means. It's the area of the base. We did that last unit. Okay, so it's this entire area down here. That entire area. Okay, so we could write area of base. Area of base. Those are the three things you have to find. So down here we have nice and easy blanks on how to find all those things. So let's start with perimeter. Okay, perimeter, if this is 5, this also has to be 5 and 5, right? Because this is a square. So the perimeter would simply be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Let's call it 20, right? Perimeter is 20. The slant height we already identified was 8. Notice how the arrow is pointing to the slant height. That's 8. The area of the base would simply be base times height, right? That's the area of a square, which is essentially just 5 times 5, which is 25, right? The area of my square is 5 times 5, which is 25. None of those things should feel crazy to you. Now let's put it in our formula. So surface area equals, I'm going to rewrite it just so you're clear about what's happening. Surface area is going to equal, let's plug in perimeter. So 20 times 8 divided by 2 plus 25. Again, I put those numbers in from here. So P was 20, L was 8, B was 25. Okay, let's see what we get. Let's do this one step at a time. I would, personally, if I were you, I wouldn't try to put too much at one time. I would just do this part. So I would do 20 times 8 divided by 2. I would get 80 for this part. So this is 80 plus 25, 105. However you want to do it, that's how I do it. I like to do it in steps just so I make sure I'm doing it all right. 105 is my surface area here. Okay, 105. Nothing too crazy. Let's say surface area equals 105 units squared. Okay. All right, not too bad. So let's do another one. This one is only slightly different. Let's write our formula at the top so we're okay with that. Okay, let's find what we need. So we found perimeter. Perimeter is, remember, the distance around. So if this is 10, 10, 10, and 10, the perimeter is going to equal 10 times 4, essentially, right, is 40. Okay, so my perimeter is 40. What about my slant height? My slant height, remember, is this distance right here. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated, right? At this point in time, we actually don't know what that slant height is. When we don't know something, let's call it x. Okay, I don't know what that is. But as we can see here, we have a triangle. So let me draw the triangle off to the side, make sure we're on the same page. We have a triangle here. We're trying to find x. We know that this is 60 degrees. Probably at this point, most of you are already starting to see that we're going to have to use trig here. Okay, at this point in my problem, I have an angle. I'm looking for a side. But in order to use trig, I have to know another side, right? Okay, I don't know the measure of this height. That would be helpful, but I don't know it. I do actually know the measure of this part. Okay, if this is the center of my square, then if the whole thing's 10, this is actually going to be 5 right here. This is going to be half of 10. So if the whole length is 10, this part's going to be 5. So I can put that on my triangle right there. Okay, let's remind ourselves of Sohcahtoa. All right, in this situation, let me use a different, this would be O, H, and A. So if I'm doing trig here, I'm going to cover up the O and I'm going to use cosine. So cosine of 60 degrees equals A over H. See what we get when we do that. Since x is on bottom, I'm going to flip these around. I'm going to get x equals 5 divided by cosine of 60 degrees. X equals 5 divided by cosine of 60 degrees. Let's see what that is. 5 divided by cosine of 60 degrees. X equals 10 here. Okay, so after all that work, we just now learned that x equals 10. That means my slant height is 10. That means this is 10. Okay. All right, what about the area of the base? Area of the base, remember, is this entire area down here. Entire area. It's very simple, though. The area of my base is simply going to be 10 times 10, right? Which is 100. Okay. So I know my perimeter is 40. By the way, this is my slant height, right? This is my slant height. Okay, so I know my perimeter is 40. I knew my slant height was 10 using trig, and my area of my base was 100. These two are pretty simple. This one I just used trig. Don't freak out. Okay, let's keep going. Let's put it in our formula. So back to here, we've got perimeter is 40. Slant height is 10 divided by 2 plus 100. Let's see what happens. Okay, again, I like to go slowly, so 40 times 10 divided by 2, that's 200, and then plus 100, 300. You can do it differently, but you should get 300, so let's say 300 units squared. Whoops, squared is my answer here. Okay? Not too shabby. Okay, those are examples 1 and 2. Those are our pyramids. Let's go ahead and go to the next page. This should be page 3 now. Let's do cones real quickly. All right. Surface area of a cone is pi RL plus pi r squared. R is the radius. You learned about that before. This is the slant height. And then we're going to use the radius again. Oh, sorry, it gave me arrows. I didn't use them. My bad. All right, so here we go. We got radius, slant height, and radius. Those are the two things we have to find. Okay, this right here is my radius. I can highlight it a specific color. This is my radius. So my radius is going to be 4. My slant height is going to be 9. My slant height is going to be 9. My radius is going to be 4. So in this picture right here, if I'm using this formula, I'd have pi, and then r is 4, L is 9, plus pi 4 squared. Okay, let's keep going. They're probably going to want it in terms of pi and in decimal form, so let's just go ahead and do both. So 4 times 9 is going to give me 36 pi, plus 4 squared is 16, so 16 pi. Surface area is going to equal 36 plus 16. So your answer in terms of pi would be 52 pi. 52 pi would be 163.4. Let's call it units squared. Okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay. That's one example. Let's keep going. Here it gives us some blanks. So the lateral, or sorry, not the lateral, the slant height, let's see what the slant height is. It's going to be this distance. We don't know what that is yet, so let's come back to it. The radius is the distance from the center to the side. So is it 9? It is not 9. The radius is, you remember, going to be 9 divided by 2, which if you put that in the calculator would be 4.5. So this part is actually 4.5. Okay, 4.5. Okay. All right, so if we know that this is 4.5, we know this is 10, how would we find the blue slant height? Well, hopefully you see this is going to be an a squared plus b squared equals c squared situation. So let's call this x. We don't know what it is. Let's use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, my a and my b would be 10 and 4.5. 10 squared plus 4.5 squared. The reason this is my c is because it's the hypotenuse. It's across from the right angle, so c squared. 10 squared plus 4.5 squared. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, when you put that in the calculator, you get 120.25 equals c squared. Find the square root of both sides. Square root of 120.25. C is going to equal 10.965, which essentially is 11.0. Okay, so after all that work, we now know our slant height is 11.0. Okay, slant height is 11.0. We know our radius is 4.5. So let's plug it in to find our surface area. So surface area equals pi r L plus pi r squared. Pi 4.5 times 11.0 plus pi 4.5 squared. All right, if we put that in the calculator, we get 4.5 times 11. 49.5 pi is what I'm getting there. Plus 4.5 squared, I'd get 20 point, let's call it 3 pi, rounding to the nearest tenth. And then surface area is going to equal 49.5 plus 20.3. I get 69.8 pi, or 69.8 times pi. Let's call it 219.3 units squared. Okay. All right, not too bad. Okay, so again, radius was 4.5 because it was half of the diameter, which is 9, and then my slant height, I found it using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, not too bad. All right, we got one more example. Let's go ahead and knock that out. Example 4. Okay, so hopefully you feel good about this at this point. This is the slant height that has been given to us, right? So the slant height's pretty easy. It's 12. What about the radius? Okay, this is my radius. I don't know what it is. This is my radius. Okay, so hopefully at this point you know this is a triangle. And what do you think we're going to use? Do you think we're going to use trig or Pythagorean theorem? Go ahead and think about that to yourself. Does this look like trig or Pythagorean theorem? Hopefully at this point in the year you should know that. This is going to be trig. Okay, so this is a triangle. and redraw it to the side. You don't have to necessarily do this, but I like to redraw it. So if I'm trying to find R right here, this is 12, this is 30 degrees. Guys, I think we're ready to roll, and I think we can solve this. So opposite 30 is O, this is H, this is A. So this is going to be sine O over H. So sine of 30 degrees equals, let's call it R over 12. Switch these out because, whoops, my bad, we're going to actually multiply those. When the variable is on top, we multiply. So we're going to multiply these together. R is going to equal 12 times sine of 30 degrees. R is going to equal, let's see what we get. 12 times sine of 30. R equals 6. Okay. So after all that, R is now 6. This value is 6. We have everything we need. Okay, so let's rewrite our formula. Surface area equals pi RL plus pi R squared. Pi times 6 times 12 plus pi 6 squared. Okay, let's see what we get. I like to do my method. So 6 times 12, 72 pi plus 6 squared is 36 pi. 72 plus 36 is going to give me 108 pi. So surface area is going to equal 108 pi, or let's say 108 times pi is 339.3 units squared. Again, all of the units are going to be squared today because it's surface area, not volume. Volume is cubed. Okay? So pyramids and cones. That's basically what you're learning about today. This was the formula. Remember, perimeter, slant height is the height that's slanted, area of the base. Shouldn't be too complicated there. Remember, you're going to use trig on occasion or the Pythagorean theorem. But guys, you totally got this. I believe in you. You're going to crush it. Go ahead and work on the practices. The practice is pages 4 through 6. You totally got this. Have a great day.